Prime Minister today stepped up the attack on the Congress and its manifesto. PM Modi has been raising the campaign pitch, accusing the Congress and Rahul Gandhi of snatching people's wealth. He raked up minority appeasement, Mangal Sutras and urban Naxals. The opposition says Modi's speeches are a sign of nervousness. What does the Prime Minister's aggressive poll pitch really mean? We'll decode that on the Newstrack tonight. But first up, here's our lead story.
The manifesto war escalates. Prime Minister Narendra Modi once again targeted the Congress manifesto at a rally in Tonk, Rajasthan. He claimed the Congress and India bloc are jittery after re-exposed their appeasement politics.
हमारी माताओं बहनों के पास जो स्त्री धन होता है, जो मंगल सूत्र होता है, उसका सर्वे करेंगे और फिर उनके नेता ने तो भाषण में कहा एक्सरे किया जाएगा। आपकी सारी संपत्ति जरूरत से ज्यादा जो भी होगा वो उनका कब्जा करेगी उनकी सरकार कहते हैं और फिर लोगों को बांट देंगे। राजस्थान में से एक भी पंजा बचना नहीं चाहिए भाइयों। मनमोहन सिंह जी ने भाषण किया था और उस सभा में मैं मौजूद था मुख्यमंत्री के नाते। मुस्लिमों का देश के संसाधनों पर पहला हक है। कांग्रेस पार्टी की सोच हमेशा से तुष्टीकरण की रही है, वोट बैंक की राजनीति की रही है।
The Congress rejected Modi's claims on wealth redistribution in its manifesto. It accused the Prime Minister of trying to divert people's attention from real issues.
डॉक्टर मनमोहन सिंह जी देश के प्रधानमंत्री थे। उन्होंने किसके इशारे पर कहा था कि देश के संसाधनों पर पहला अधिकार मुसलमानों का है। आप देश को मुसलमान और गैर मुसलमान के नाम पर, अल्पसंख्यक और बहुसंख्यक के नाम पे बांटना चाहते हैं।
कौन सा मुस्लिम लीग का इश्यू है उसमें? सबको, सब महिला को 1-1 लाख रुपए सालाना देना, ये मुस्लिम लीग का है प्रोग्राम। युवाओं को नौकरी देना, ट्रेनिंग देना और उनको 1 लाख रुपए ट्रेनिंग के लिए देना, ये मुस्लिम लीग का है। बोलो आप कौन सा मुस्लिम लीग का है? अरे 25 गारंटी हमने जो दी सबके लिए दिए हैं। गरीब के लिए है, महिला के लिए है, युवाओं के लिए है, दलित के लिए है, सबके लिए हमने दिया है।
Opposition leaders termed Prime Minister Modi's remarks objectionable and highly deplorable.
ओहदे पर फायज होने के बावजूद भी नरेंद्र मोदी को इस तरह की इनडिग्निफाइड बातें करनी पड़ रही हैं। आप डर पैदा कर रहे हैं कि मुसलमान ओवरटेक कर लेंगे, तो इस तरह का बयान देना ये तो इनका कंसिस्टेंट है। और ये गारंटी उनकी एक जरूर है कि 1% लोगों को उन्होंने 40% दौलत दी है।
Sharad Pawar compared Modi to Hitler and Putin.
अंतर्राज्यकर्ता पूर्ण रशियाचं प्रशासन, रशियाची शासन यंत्रणा आणि त्या व्यक्तीचं नाव पुतीन। आज या देशामध्ये मोदींच्या रूपानं नवीन पुतीन तयार होतं का काय ही चिंता या देशाच्या जनतेला आहे।
India bloc allies are demanding the Election Commission act against Prime Minister Modi for his remarks, which they described as hate speech. Bureau Report, India Today.
Prime Minister Modi is arguably the most combative and successful politician of his generation, most certainly in India, also arguably in the rest of the world as well. So when he goes on this hyper-aggressive pitch just after phase 1 of the elections, people wonder what's going on and why. That's what we'll try and make sense of in this campaign, because when it comes to governance, Prime Minister Modi has been wholly secular. On the campaign trail, this pitch and tonality that we've seen over the past 3 days has had relatively communal elements to it. So why this change in messaging and in tonality? Does it help charge the BJP's base? Does it help deal with the lack of enthusiasm amongst voters? Remember, in the first phase of polling, voting was actually down 4%. Will such a shrill message really get the BJP voter base charged up and bring them back to the polling booth? What's really going on? There is no definitive answer because, remember, the BJP is not revealing its strategy in public, but there is a perceptible change in tonality and in messaging. Why at this stage in the campaign? Does it help the BJP or could it potentially backfire? To talk about this, I'm joined on this broadcast by the national spokesperson of the BJP, Sanju Verma. With us on this broadcast is Rahul Verma, fellow at the Center for Policy Research. Rajat Sethi has helped the BJP in different campaigns. He's a political commentator. We have Sanjay Jha, who's an author, political analyst leaning towards the Congress's point of view. With me in the studio is Rajdeep Sardesai. So I want to start by asking Rajdeep first, this change in tonality that we've seen. Because when he was governing, the message was Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, going and meeting the Arab sheikhs, embracing them, talking about Hajj pilgrimage. Now he's targeting a community in a very... We've seen this from Chief Minister Modi during the assembly election campaign. We've also seen it in 2017 in Gujarat. We've seen it in Uttar Pradesh, the first time round when they said Kabristan, Shamshan Ghat. Why after phase one, Rajdeep, in your view, has the Prime Minister decided to go down this hyper-aggressive route?
Thanks very much, Rahul. I think part of it was in your introduction when you mentioned that the low voter turnout, that there is a 4% decline in the first phase, suggests a sense of listlessness. You see, all this euphoria, drumbeat, up ki bar, 400 par, Ram Mandir Pran Pratishtha, there was a feeling that there was a wave, a euphoria across the country. As the election has come, partly because you could argue it's hot out there, it's a 7-phase election, it's a marathon, it's been difficult to galvanize the flock to come in the kind of large numbers the BJP might have hoped. So what do? You go back to your basics. The Hindu-Muslim dog whistle has always been part of the basics over the last 2 decades and more of the Bharatiya Janata Party, even pre-Modi and certainly during the Modi era. So I think there is that desire to galvanize the flock, which is one reason. Reason number 2, I think in the last couple of weeks, Rahul, you may have seen the Congress and the opposition has gone on about this constitution in danger, Samvidhan Khatre mein hai narrative. And in parts of the country, especially in North and Central India, messaging has been put out that if the BJP comes back to power sooner or later, reservations may also be denied to you. And they've gone and targeted SC, ST and OBC communities on that plank. So you need a counter narrative. And therefore, Mr. Modi is going out there and saying, look, they're talking about the constitution in danger. I'm telling you, look at their manifesto. There will be wealth redistributed. They will want, in the guise of income equality, they will take away your wealth. Now, that's not mentioned in the manifesto, but clearly, just as constitution in danger is not mentioned in the BJP manifesto, the BJP is trying a counter narrative by pushing this idea that wealth redistribution could result in a loss of income for certain groups. And the third one is you just want to normalize this entire narrative of Hindutva dog whistle. You see, you go to the floating voters with the idea of Viksit Bharat, Amrit Kal, but to your core constituency out there...
But the core is already yours.
The core is yours, but as you said, Rahul, at the outset, and I said here, in the first round, there's a sense that why hasn't the voter turnout gone up? If you're talking about 400 par, if you're talking about, a major euphoria for Prime Minister Modi to return, then why hasn't the voter come in?
As you look at that data set about voter turnout going down, and the India Today Data Intelligence Unit has mapped out the different seats. So in about 93 of the 102 seats, voter turnout was down. Now remember, Rajdeep, when voter turnout goes down, the common perception would be that this is disadvantaged BJP. The reality is that the BJP has a far higher propensity of bringing out its voters to the polling booth on counting day. So because they've got more money, they've got more resources, they've got more cadre, they'll bring their voters out. So when voter turnout goes down, it doesn't necessarily mean disadvantaged BJP.
Absolutely. And just 2 short points. One, you're absolutely right. I believe a lower voter turnout actually works to the advantage of the BJP because of their last mile connectivity, their booth management, their various booth level workers who put in the real effort to ensure that their own voters come in. So you're right there. But when you have a low voter turnout, it can also result in margins getting narrow. And when margins get narrow, who knows, a small swing one way or the other can actually affect a few seats, particularly the marginal seats. Remember, the BJP has pushed this election for the last 5 months as up ki baar 400 par. So when you've done that, when you set your eyes on Everest and you're ending at Kanchenjunga, then you're worried. Then how do I reach Everest again? So I need to galvanize the flock. I see this both as a weapon of mass distraction to take away from the constitution in danger argument, and Rahul, a way of trying to galvanize your flock.
Let me put this question to Sanju Verma. This idea that the opposition has been carrying to voters, they're quoting Anand Hegde, Jyoti Mirda, Govil, so many BJP leaders who've said something about changing the constitution. The opposition is taking this to voters in Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, elsewhere in the heartland, saying they intend, if they get these 370 seats, to change the constitution and to take away reservation. Now we've seen in 2015 in Bihar, that idea, takes root very quickly. Is the Prime Minister trying to push the counter narrative that is not us who are taking reservation away? The Congress in states like Andhra Pradesh actually tried to take reservation away from the Dalits, the scheduled tribes, and give it to the Muslim. Is that really what? So you've got an opposition attack which is being counter-attacked by the Prime Minister in this way. What, according to you, Sanju Verma, is going on here?
Rahul, I will answer your very pointed question without any ifs or buts. But I'm reminded of a very famous saying by Tennessee Williams. The only thing worse than a liar is a liar who is also a hypocrite. And without being offensive to Rajdeep Sardesai, I think here Rajdeep Sardesai is lying and is also showcasing his hypocrisy. And I'll tell you why. When you say that the Prime Minister is dog whistling and trying to polarize the electorate with his Hindu-Muslim narrative, I want to remind Rajdeep Sardesai, through your show, Rahul Kanwal, that less than 48 hours back, Mamata Banerjee says that, if the BJP comes back to power, CAA will be there, NRC will be there, UCC will be there, and while addressing a Muslim population largely at this public rally, she says, don't vote for them, because otherwise your Aadhaar card will be taken away, your ration card will be taken away, you will no longer be Indian citizens. But I see that the entire media ne apne muh par Fevicol laga liya hai. That is not dog whistling. When Rahul Gandhi at a public platform says, हिंदू धर्म में शक्ति का पूजन होता है और हम शक्ति का विनाश कर देंगे, शक्ति को तहस नहस कर देंगे, clearly not taking a pot shot at Sanatan Dharma, but blatantly saying that if the Congress-led ... alliance comes to power, Hinduism will be a thing of the past. But nobody says that.
So you made that attack in the beginning. Can you come to the debate that I'm having? Can you respond to my question, please, Sanjuji?
What exactly do you want me to say? I'm just answering your question. This is exactly the point I'm making. Rahul, please understand one thing very clearly. That in West Bengal 2021 elections and in the Tamil Nadu 2021 elections, what happened? If you go back and collect the data from your panel of experts, you will find out that the voter turnout was lower than what it was in the previous assembly elections. And I remember people saying, oh, voter turnout kam hai, iska matlab is baar to Tamil Nadu mein DMK has an edge. Voter turnout kam hai West Bengal mein in 2021 compared to 2016, iska matlab Mamata Banerjee certainly has an edge. And exactly that happened. DMK came back to power, Mamata Banerjee came back to power. But today, when there is a 4%
while you're citing this, just 1 second, ma'am. Can I pause you to say that if you go back into electoral studies, going back to the 70s, there is no direct correlation between voter turnout and the propensity of an incumbent to be voted back to power. 1 second, let me put that question to Rahul Verma, who studies this professionally. Rahul, there's so much being made of the fact that voter turnout went down 4%, and a lot of political pundits are convinced that the aggressive campaigning that we're seeing from the Prime Minister on the issue of Hindu-Muslim is linked to the fact that voter turnout in phase 1 was down, and somehow the BJP has interpreted this as being an alarm bell and they're trying to counter it. Do you think that holds some water, the theory?
That seems to be true given all the conversation happening on TV and Twitter and everything. But you are absolutely right. there is no statistical relationship between turnout and incumbency. In last 30 years of data, both at Lok Sabha level, meaning constituency level, or as well as state level, we see no correlation between turnout and incumbency. Second point I want to make, like, I don't make much of this turnout decline of 4 percentage point in phase one, though it seems to have become the talking point. And the reason I don't make much of it, because see, in the last two elections, in 2014 and 2019, you had seen a turnout rise. So at some point, there is going to be a correction of anything that is rising up.
So if it's not to do with turnout, why do you think the campaign has taken such a sharp communal turn?
Rajdeep, Rahul, this had to come at some point in the campaign.
No, but the expectation would have been it would have come in phase 4, phase 5, as the campaign moves more towards southern Bengal, more towards eastern Uttar Pradesh. That's when people would have expected this to happen. Why so soon in the campaign?
Then it's a wrong expectation people have. See, political parties have certain DNA in themselves, right? Like they are made up of certain ideological vision, and it is going to be part of their campaign at some point or the other. Now, if it had come before the phase one, then also there would have been a problem for those who think that this is happening because of a turnout or BJP expects not to be doing well, or even if it has come after phase 3 or phase 4. So it has nothing to do with what is the, like, of course, there must be some calculation within the BJP that perhaps their cadres are not cited on the ground. Perhaps there is no energy in the campaign. There is no national mood in the campaign. And then you need this. But does BJP read that in these 102 seats, they have done extremely well? And by bringing this card, they are going to have a greater advantage? I don't know.
Let me put that question to Yashwant Deshmukh. The advantage of Yashwant is he has his own tracker, so has some sense of how this may play out and has a lot of experience in tracking how these issues play out through the political stock exchange. Yashwant, if you were asked, and there is no way of knowing for sure, whether the Prime Minister's pitch over the past 72 hours will pay electoral dividends or not, what's your answer? Do you think whatever the level that they were flying at before this, does it pull the BJP up?
Well, I know for one thing, Rahul, and I believe that Rajdeep will agree with me, that nothing, not a single line, not a single movement as far as Prime Minister and the election machinery of the BJP is concerned goes unplanned. They are such meticulous
that
plans.
We know. Give me your best sense of why do you think they're doing it?
No, they are doing it to enthuse their cadre, as Rahul Verma said, that, you know, when you have really at Kanchenjunga and trying to achieve to Mount Everest, after that, you need to enthuse your cadre. You need to give them a new target. You need to pull them up that say that, okay, still more tasks is to be done. So I guess that that's their way of
Could this potentially, in your view, scare away some of the non-Hindutva voter? Because Prime Minister Modi wins not just because he has the Hindutva base, also because he has the plus voter, who's the development voter, who's not necessarily pro-Hindutva but would like to see India develop in the way that the Prime Minister is trying to make our country develop. Could it scare some of those swing voters away?
I think what the composition of his speech is, you know, it has been taken into the media and the controversy around it, that I understand. But I doubt that Prime Minister is not giving a proper composition of whatever he is trying to achieve. If you try to hear the entire speech that he is giving, I think there are more things that he is saying or doing on the terms of development plan than this plan.
Okay.
And I think each and every aspect, there is a method to the madness, we know it. Each section of his speech, each section of his rallies, they are pointed to each different section of...
So Rajat Sethi, you've been part of BJP campaigns. Why do you think the campaign has taken this sharp communal angle at this stage of electioneering? What do you think is going on? What's your best reading and what you can tell us to the public?
I think communal or not communal is a question which is before the Election Commission. I don't think what Prime Minister said was anything to do with communalism. And we can get into that separate debate. But, in one of Rajdeep ji's show at 9 p.m., I pointed out this was a day before the election. I pointed out that this election seems, a rather dull election. And that was before we were entering into the first phase and the campaigning had stopped. And I think Rajdeep said it's a long election cycle and, the parties want to save their energy for that long campaign cycle. But I was sensing something amiss. And, look at the two big campaigns that preceded this election. See, G20 was a very, very highly vocal, very shrill campaign around G20. We saw the whole country was galvanized. Thereafter, we saw Ram Temple, huge movement. It captured the imagination of everybody. Now, after for a sustained 6 months, you've seen Prime Minister leading very, very vocal campaigns. Somehow the election and the electoral energy was lower in the first round. There cannot be two debates about it.
You think the peak of the BJP was around the crescendo of the Ram Temple Pran Pratishtha? Is it your sense that the BJP campaign in terms of sentiment?
Well, BJP was supposed to peak even further. So I think this is why Prime Minister had to step in to increase the temperatures of the campaign. There had to be jibes to the Congress, which I believe that there were a lot of full toss balls given by Congress party and Prime Minister. And I was waiting for the Prime Minister to swing his bat and kick the ball out of the park. And it was waiting to happen. This redistribution narrative of Congress had been going on for the past at least a month. This caste narrative that I'm going to do caste census, this, that, all of these things.
But while in campaigns leaders take liberties, the Congress nowhere, neither Rahul Gandhi nor anybody in the Congress ever says they'll take away somebody's Mangal Sutra and give it to a Guspaitia. That's a liberty the leader is taking. Yes.
That's a political narration which Prime Minister will do, and he will do at its politically best way. And, there were clear signs that Congress party had been trying to say, which were very, very problematic, even from an economic standpoint. They were like, if you are watching reels, don't worry, 8,500 per month, khatakat. I mean, what is this? Is this a responsible leader? If that finance has to be, that kind of a narrative has to be challenged, Prime Minister will do it the way he does it the best.
Now Sanjay, respond to what Rajat Sethi is saying, that Rahul Gandhi bowls these loose balls. Ultimately, he does speak about some kind of redistribution. He doesn't explain what redistribution is. It can be argued that redistribution means taking from the big corporates, giving to the poor. He doesn't explain that. He says we'll do redistribution, leaves it vague. So as Rajat Sethi says, the Prime Minister can interpret this to mean he's going to check your gold, he's going to check your silver, he's going to see your Mangal Sutra, he's going to take from you and give to the Guspatias. He explains it in such a vague manner that it leaves it open to interpretation. Sanjay Jha.
Rahul, I don't think this discussion is about Rahul Gandhi. This discussion is about the most combustible, inflammatory, deliberately provocative speech, which I think has been done intentionally to raise the communal temperature. I heard the previous panelist, and I'm dismayed that he believes that the electoral energy had to be heightened with the Prime Minister of a country. He's not a fringe, by the way. Is as mainstream.
No, but let's be real here. Sanjay Jha, let's be real. When Trump is on the campaign trail, he needs to energize the base. In an Indian context, Rajat Sethi is only making a point that the Prime Minister is trying to energize his base. The base seemed a bit thanda, which after 10 years of being in power is only likely, and therefore he's trying to get them all charged up.
Rahul, let me finish.
Okay.
I have a principal objection to the kind of politics that we are all compromising ourselves with. Narendra Modi has got every business to galvanize his cadres. God bless him and his cadre. But at the cost of what? Destroying India's secular character? A Prime Minister of the country...
I take some objection to such remarks.
Can I have no interruption, please?
Okay. Let him complete. We'll come back to you, Sanju, for a counter in just a moment. Go on, Sanjay Jha, very quickly complete.
Here is a Prime Minister of India who talks about Muslims like being a reproduction center. I'm reminded of his famous, extremely degrading statement of "Hum Paanch, Hamare Pachis." Does he have the right to call Muslims as infiltrators? What does he mean by saying that the Mangal Sutra of Hindu women will be taken away by the Congress and given away to the Muslims? I mean, is this the Prime Minister of our country? I can tell you, Rahul, if we had an independent election commission, Mr. Modi would be today disqualified as a Lok Sabha candidate, and he should be banned from making any public campaigns here on. And incidentally, a leopard can't change his spots or her spots. Mr. Modi, did he speak a word when Ramesh Bidhuri in Parliament called Muslims the worst vulgar abuse on the floor of parliament.
Okay.
Did Narendra Modi do anything at all?
Now, here's what one senior BJP leader told me, that, you know, you look at his track record, Rajdeep, the Prime Minister's track record in governance is 100% secular. When you're on the campaign trail, you need to do what you need to do to win. And the argument that was being made was this is just temporary, with the intent of ensuring that they get as close to Mount Everest or at least reach Kanchenjunga, so they're fully and completely through. And then he gets back to the business of governance, which is entirely secular, which the past 10 years the BJP leader was arguing in terms of how schemes have been distributed, how Labharthis have benefited, that everybody benefits equally. It's a very secular development.
Look, across the world, and there was a famous New York mayor who once said this, you're supposed to govern in prose and campaign in poetry. Now, when he's on the campaign trail, Narendra Modi is a completely different political animal. And as that kind of politician, he totally campaigns in poetry using every means available that he believes will get him votes. That's what this is all about. This is about preying on the fears and prejudices of people and reminding them what he and his party stand for vis-a-vis what the opposition stands for. They've been doing that for the last 20 years, Rahul. You know, we are seemingly suggesting as if this is some new avatar of Prime Minister Modi. As you've listed out, in the past, he's used this from time to time. Sanju Verma is objecting to my use of the word dog whistle and using other examples, Mamta Banerjee, Rahul Gandhi, others. They may well do it. They may well do it. Politicians do it all the time. Politicians, just a minute, man. Politicians do prey on fears and prejudices. But this is the Prime Minister of the country and therefore will come under extra scrutiny. It may well work for him. Okay. And I think it's very interesting this time, Rahul, that the Congress has been consciously trying not to respond. Because the Congress...
Do you think that's a good strategy? Because, well, look, I mean, we are happy that Sanjay Jha is here, but with no disrespect to him, the Congress yesterday and today decided not to send an official spokesperson.
Because I think the Congress fears that the moment they respond, they are going to be playing on the pitch of Prime Minister Modi. Look, I think there is no doubt that some of the statements that Congress leaders...
You don't bite at all.
You see,
you don't like the pitch you're batting on, which means you sit in the pavilion and don't bat. Sanju, just 1 minute. Which means you don't like the pitch, which means you sit it out and don't play at all.
Because I think the fear is the moment they do that, it's a weapon of mass distraction. The narrative completely changes from incomes, from jobs, from agrarian distress to Hindu-Muslim politics. The BJP is playing on its own pitch. Number two, as was suggested by one of the speakers, some of the statements that Rahul Gandhi makes can easily be interpreted to suggest that he wants to bring a revolutionary step.
But he speaks of revolution.
That's right, that's what I'm saying. So they can be easily misinterpreted and used by the other side. So you've got a combination of two things. One, the Prime Minister playing on the pitch on which he's most familiar when it comes to campaigning, creating a weapon of mass distraction to try and put the opposition on the defensive. Number two, the opposition at times speaking a language which allows the Prime Minister to push them into a corner. But let's be honest, this is how the Prime Minister has conducted campaigns for years. Hum 5, hamare 25, as Sanjay Jha reminded me, goes back to 2002.
Sanju Verma, now Rajdeep makes the argument that the Prime Minister says he's cut of a different cloth. He sets a higher expectation for himself during his time in governance, and therefore, even while campaigning, he should be judged at a higher standard, because that's what he's seeking. He wants to go down in history as one of India's greatest leaders ever. Within the BJP circles, the comparisons are with Samrat Ashok Chandragupta Maurya, and therefore, what you say is what you'll be judged against.
You know, Rahul, if you had told me that Rajdeep Sardesai is going to be on your show, then I would have asked you, why do you also have a suspended leader from the Congress called Sanjay Jha? Rajdeep is doing a better job than Sanjay Jha.
No,
you have two people from the Congress here on your show.
Madam, I said in the, you cherry pick what I say. I am saying the Congress is offering opportunities to the other side to misinterpret their statements.
Okay.
I'm also giving the Prime Minister's perspective.
Let us speak.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Let us speak. Sanju ji, go on. Sanju ji, go on.
Rajdeep, unfortunately, you know, the problem with you is on your own shows also, you mollycoddle the Congress. On Rahul Kaval's show, I will not allow you to mollycoddle the Congress. I will wait for my next turn at 9 p.m. and then we will have, a fisticuff, a verbal one. Now coming to Rahul Kaval's more important point.
Yes.
Let's be very clear. You look, Narendra Modi is one of the leaders for the last 20 years. I say he's been guillotined. He's been maligned. He's been subjected to the nastiest abuses. Party नेताओं के लिए क्या कहते हो? when it is a Rahul Gandhi, when it is a Priyanka Vadra, when it is a Mamata Banerjee, when it is a N.K. Stalin, when it is a Lalu Prasad Yadav. I mean, these people are not even a fraction of what Narendra Modi is in terms of his political prowess. But the point I'm making is, for other leaders, you say, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. Actions speak louder than words. तो भाई नरेंद्र मोदी के लिए आप यार्डस्टिक क्यों बदलते हो? This is the same Narendra Modi who made instant triple talaq illegal and unconstitutional in 2019, something which should have been done 50, 60 years back. We did it after most Arab nations had already made instant triple talaq illegal. This is the same Narendra Modi who has ensured that 31% of PM Awas Yojana goes to minorities, especially Muslims. This is the same Narendra Modi who has ensured 33% of Ayushman Bharat goes to minorities, particularly Muslims. This is the same Narendra Modi who has ensured that 36% of PM Ujjwala Yojana beneficiaries are minorities, particularly Muslims. And this is the same Narendra Modi who has ensured that 37% of PM Mudra Yojana beneficiaries are minorities, particularly Muslims.
No, but that's governance, which is secular. Ma'am, that is governance, which we said is secular. It's about the campaign trail. And that's taken a very clear Hindu-Muslim communal angle. I mean, the Prime Minister saying it himself. It's not even said. It's not even said in whispers. It's not even said in signals. It's said very openly. Just 1 second. I want to quote what Rahul Gandhi said on the 6th of April, and Sanjay Jha needs to respond. First, he's talking about Jitni Abadi Utna Hak. First, we will conduct a caste census to know the exact population and status of backward castes, SC, STs, minorities. After that, financial and institutional survey will begin. Subsequently, we will take up the historic assignment to distribute the wealth of India. Now, historic assignment to distribute the wealth of India, if I look just at this phrase, anybody will wonder, boss, is he going to take my wealth and give it to somebody else? What's he saying? He articulates things in a fashion that it leaves matters open to misinterpretation, that it allows people to interpret things the way they want. What does this mean? Historic assignment to distribute the wealth of India. What's he trying to do?
Well, Rahul, let me explain to you very quickly. I think what he said is the fundamental premise of the Congress campaign. Why is Narendra Modi calling it a Muslim League, right? Because he's disturbed that the promises that the Congress party has made, which they call as the guarantees, is really well thought through, extremely well constructed, and is finding huge popular resonance at the ground level. Let me explain to you on the redistribution. There should be no room for panic. I'll give you just one example. The corporate taxes in India are contributing 46% of the total taxable revenue. The personal taxes in India are contributing 53%. I mean, the BJP has been so crude and absolutely, in my opinion, brazenly pro the big business. I'm not industry, pro big business, that it is actually having personal taxes being higher and GST, which is another source of revenue, which is regressive, because the poorest man pays GST as well as the richest man of the same rate. So this government has clearly been skewed in its economic policy. The second point.
No, one second. Do you seriously believe what you just said? I thought you were an investment banker. I mean, GST, everybody pays GST equally, and thank God for that. There's much lesser pilferage than there was earlier. And as far as corporate taxation is concerned, if you make it more rationalized, bring it to international levels, you have a better chance of attracting investment to India, which the government is hoping to do, which any sensible person will say is the right thing to do. You should also ask for personal taxes to be rationalized and brought down. It doesn't mean it's an either or. You should ask for both. Don't put on your political cap, put on your corporate cap.
Rahul, you are missing a very simple point here. And by the way, not just corporate, I'm also a student of economics. GST is considered regressive because the poorest man in India pays the same amount of tax for a toothpaste that Gautam Adani does. Number two, very important, you have seen how this government on electoral bond, now let me finish, has actually blatantly done crony capitalism. It's out there in the open.
So what's he, once again, I think your argument on GST is bizarre, but that's a matter for a separate debate. On the issue of redistribution of income, what's he saying? He'll take from Sanju Verma and give to somebody else? What's he saying? What does redistribution mean?
he's not saying that. He's saying that when you do a caste survey, and by the way, you have the data of the Bihar government in front of you, where over 75% of Indians are struggling, whether they're OBC, Dalits, and Adivasis.
No, answer what I'm asking. Historic assignment to distribute the wealth of India to these sections based on their population. What does that mean?
Hello. Just a minute, Rahul. Give me 30 seconds. It's an important question you're asking. The question is, look at their socio-economic status. Why is the BJP dodging away from it? And let me ask a question of the BJP spokesperson here. Is PM Kisan not a redistribution of wealth? Is giving Ujjwala...
Rahul, this can't be a monologue by this suspended variety.
Is giving 5 kilo of food grains to 50% of Indians not a redistribution of wealth? Is corporate tax reduction being done, giving a huge relief of 1,45,000 crores per year since 2019, not a redistribution of wealth? What are we talking about? Rahul Gandhi is talking about making economic equity match.
How is that a redistribution of wealth? That's money which would have come to the government, which now stays with the corporates in the hope that they will reinvest. Because of the pandemic, it didn't work out that way initially, but that's not redistribution of wealth. Redistribution is to take from someone and give to somebody else. You seem to be upturning the whole definition of redistribution. But the argument that you're making is, and let me get Rajat Sethi to respond to it, that he's not saying he will take from someone and give to the other. He's saying in terms of the government's priorities, the focus will be to distribute the wealth to the poorest. So instead of, say, corporate tax reductions, he's trying to give more Kisan Nidhi, he's trying to give more food to the poor. That's the argument Sanjay Jha is making.
This is the most bizarre defense of what Rahul Gandhi was trying to say. Sir, 1 second. Now give me a chance to speak. You just said, is PM Kisan not redistribution of it? 100%. But do you require a survey of how much of each family owns? How much of wealth does that family own? What is the land holding? Do you require a survey to be done in order to implement PM Kisan? Allow me to finish. Do you need to do a survey? 1 second, sir. Do you need to do a survey in order to identify the needy part of our sections of our society and provide the direct benefit transfers to them? No, sir, you do not. See, this is the very, very sinister plan of Rahul Gandhi. He wants to throw everything at this election. And he wants to go overboard so that he doesn't have any trick left in his bag, just to see that whatever hits the fan, and we'll see whatever consequences come to it at a later day. There will be a level of deniability. Oh, I never said that. But his planning is sinister. And thank God that Prime Minister Modi took it up and knocked it out of the park. Now Congress will not have the guts, the way they did not have the guts to come to this discussion and this debate, they will not have the guts to raise this.
So Rahul Verma, we've heard from the partisan lead opinion makers on both sides of the aisle. I want to come across to you as a more bipartisan person for what you think he's saying. A financial survey. Rahul Gandhi talks of a financial survey. The PM suggests that's to mean he'll check your assets, he'll check your income, he'll check how much you're making. And he talks about the historic assignment to distribute the wealth of India based to these sections based on their population. If you look at it without a political prism, what do you think he's trying to say?
To me, I don't think Rahul Gandhi or the Congress Party manifesto suggests of economic redistribution in the classical sense, which is basically taking away from the sort of like rich and middle classes and then give it to poor. Of course, what Rahul Gandhi and the Congress Party is trying to say, that we will try to distribute nation's wealth, right, in a way that people like communities or groups that are more in number and do not have enough means to sustain, they should have a greater right to basically get this. Of course, there's no blueprint in a very, very clear way that what are you going to take and who you are going to take. See, Prime Minister's response, which came in Rajasthan, is largely both sides in some way are also doing what we'll call as propaganda or taking things as an exaggerated level. Because the Congress went ahead with the 400-seat campaign as if this is an attempt to change constitution and then reservation and then your rights. Prime Minister tried to just boomerang the entire Congress plan, and now he has taken to another extreme. Both sides are basically, rather than debating on what the actual merits of their manifestos are or economic plans or visions are basically taking it to an extreme.
So Yashwant Deshmukh, before I end, we don't have a political tracker because of the election code of conduct, but if there was a tracker happening, and if we were to do a poll on this issue, given your past experience, your best sense of whether this issue will work to the advantage of the BJP, does it not make much of a difference to the electoral fortunes, or could it turn some of the more neutral, more swing voters away? What's your sense?
Experience tells Rahul that there is not much of the neutral voter as such remaining, as these debates and these things are only going to galvanize the respective parts of the electorate on both sides of the spectrum, and the neutral part in between has to be dealt into only a question of a turnout factor in terms of relative turnout, not the total turnout. As Rahul Verma initially said, and I totally agree with him, that it's not about one single turnout figure that these are things to be aimed at. I think at the end of the day, it will be the machinery, as you mentioned, Rahul, that, the way who is more prepared to bring out their own voter to the polling booth. That is what is going to count. And one single turnout figure, no matter up or down, is not really going to prove any anti or the pro-incumbent verdicts.
I'm out of time. Sanju Verma has her hand up, so I'm going to have a very quick opportunity to interject and conclude.
Rahul, I will just say this, that the women voters account for 50% of India's electorate, and by passing the women reservation bill, by ensuring that out of the 52 crore Jan Dhan bank accounts, 72% belong to poor Dalit and Adivasi women. Out of the 43 crore Mudra loan applications processed, 30 crore beneficiaries are women. Ensuring that out of the 13 crore tap connections that have been provided under the Har Ghar Jal scheme, the biggest beneficiaries are women. By ensuring that out of the 10 crore Ujjwala schemes, the biggest beneficiaries are Dalit and Adivasi women, and by ensuring that Draupadi Murmu, the first tribal woman from Santhal tribe, becomes the President of India. Narendra Modi has not only talked the talk, he has walked the talk. And is baar, teesri baar, Modi Sarkar, jo karna hai kar lo Congressiyo.
Okay, in the interest of fairness, Sanjay, 10 seconds.
Bilkis Banu.
Sanjay Jha.
She forgot to mention the gang-raped woman of Manipur. She forgot the insult heaped on the champion women wrestlers who had a sexual harassment case against a BJP MP. She forgot to mention Bilkis Banu. The women of India are intelligent, discerning, and they will take a call.
What we're seeing is really the heat and dust of the election campaign. It's hot, not just when you're out in the election campaign trail, even the campaign rhetoric is heating up. Now, will it see a further climb, or will there now be a bit of a trough before it picks up again? We'll track what's happening. The political temperature is clearly rising, as does the mercury.